So our next presenter is Chukwuemeka Anthony Atansi from McGill University, Canada. Anthony will be presenting on where is Christ in the study of world Christianity today. Okay. Anthony,
Thank you very much, Joseph, for your kind introduction, and good afternoon, everyone, and many thanks to the organizers of this interesting and engaging conference. The title of my paper, as already announced by Joseph, is Where is Christ in the Study of World Christianity Today? And in raising and seeking answer to this question, my thesis is this. Can you see my PowerPoint, my slides?
Yes.
Good.
Can make it bigger.
My thesis is that a turn to Jesus Christ as the central living object of Christianity, proclaimed, celebrated, and looked onto by Christians, particularly at the grassroots, offers a more comprehensive and holistic prism for the study of world Christianity. It illuminates and repositions the study towards fulfilling its mission in today's complex world. And so for my presentation, I will move in more or less 4 steps. Introduction. For too long, world Christianity studies have been carried out in historical, thematic, socio-scientific, anthropological, demographic, cultural, and institutional front and fashion. Many valuable insights have emerged therefrom. However, in most of these studies, little or no attention has been paid to the person and work of Christ, the central living object of Christianity. There is no doubt that theologians have paid and pay such attention in the field of theology that engages in a systematic study of Jesus Christ. But I am not speaking here of simply the study of Christ or suggesting that world Christianity be turned into Christology. No. What I am pointing to is what Kwame Bidiako refers to as foregrounding the Christ principle within the historical, sociological, cultural, and even demographic study of world Christianity. For Bidiako, retrieving this Christ principle within, or what I call the Christic element, requires that significant attention is paid to the observation and study of the actual life of Christian individuals and communities. I understand the Christ principle within, or the Christic element, to mean the abiding presence and the ongoing action of Christ in the world, in the living fullness of his humanity and divinity. As the study of world Christianity pays significant attention to the actual lived and living experience of Jesus Christ at the grassroots, has it thought about and taken seriously the faith and experience of that Christian woman or young man somewhere in the United States, in Orangi in Pakistan, in Obo family in Nigeria, in Kiberia in Kenya, who cultivates a living relationship with Christ and looks unto him in her or his daily challenges and struggles? I argue that the aforementioned dominant ways, historical, thematic, social, scientific, demographical, and cultural study of world Christianity, done with little or marginal attention to the faith experience of Christians at the grassroots, has led to the undercutting of the Christ principle within, or the Christic element of Christianity. This, in turn, has limited the missional potential of the study in and for today's complex world. The loss of the Christ principle within, or the Christic element in the study of world Christianity, for one thing, has led to the valorization of the decline of Christianity in the West, and the normalization of this claim, and even celebration in some quarters that Christianity is dead, because often the study thinks of Christianity in these fronts that I have mentioned. One does not need to mention the unfortunate consequences of stretching such a claim in our society. In recent times, scholars like Jacob Olupona, Stanchu Ibilo have highlighted the need for a new paradigm that views world Christianity through a more comprehensive and holistic prism, for responding to the realities of the world that it directly or indirectly engages in its study. In the book, Landmark Essays in Mission and World Christianity, the members of the American Society of Missiology Series Committee, Jonathan Bong, Angeline Dries, and Scott Sundquist, noted that an important aspect of the study in world Christianity is to effect passage over the boundary between faith in Jesus Christ and its absence. This is all to say that my argument for why a turn to the subject of Christianity is important has been noted by scholars. Thus, the need to engage the question which forms the title of my presentation. A comment about this question is important here. According to British theologian Oliver Davies, in his book Transformation Theology, Faith, Freedom and the Christian Act, this question, where is Jesus Christ today, is the most ancient question of all. Davies describes it as the first question of the Christian community. It may be that it was in asking this question, Davies goes on, in the light of the empty tomb, that the community around Jesus became what we today call the church. It was a question that indeed shaped and can still shape human life as Christian life. And there are pressing reasons to think that it is a question we should learn to ask once again in the study of world Christianity, since at the heart of the profession of faith in any age, for instance, is the claim that Christ we encounter and speak about and speak to is both real and universal. Consequently, in this presentation, I will first point to what I sense as the absence or marginal presence or even silence of Christ in the study of world Christianity as seen in the works of three representative scholars in three identifiable trends. Hence the question, where is Christ in the study of world Christianity? Still inspired by this question, in the second section, I will discuss four sides where Christ is proclaimed, celebrated and looked unto, and so vibrantly present in the often marginalized experience of Christians at the grassroots. A turn to the Christians and engagement with their experience of faith in Jesus Christ in the study of world Christianity bear methodological and missional implications, which I reflect on in the third and final section of the paper. The absence and marginal presence of Christ in the study of world Christianity, engaging with scholars in three trends. Here I think of Lamin Sane, the historical thematic study of world Christianity, Martha Fredericks, the social scientific study of world Christianity, Philip Jenkins, the demographic cultural study of world Christianity. Lamin Sane was an influential scholar in the study of world Christianity. He is described to have exerted a profound influence on the study of Christianity in Africa and beyond, on the study of Christianity worldwide. Sane introduced some striking new lines of conversation in the history of African Christianity and for the emerging field of world Christian studies. Several abiding questions drove Sane's long career as a historian of African religions. What is distinctive about West African Islam? How are we to understand massive movement in Africa towards Christian faith? And what does that movement reveal about Christianity and how it has made its way both in Africa and across the globe? Two major themes of his life work were African agency in the spread of Christianity in Africa and the translating of Christianity into a great variety of cultures worldwide. This insight comes from Joel Carpenter, who recently contributed to the Palgrave Handbook on Christianity in Africa from Apostolic Times to the present age. And Joel Carpenter contributed on the writings and legacy of Lamin Sanneh. So these insights come from him. But what I argue actually is what Stanchu Ilo offers as a critique of Sanneh's approach to the study of world Christianity, where Ilo underlines that because of this overt focus on the historical thematic study of world Christianity in Sanneh's approach, there seems to be a relegation of the subject matter to the past, rather than the current situation of Christianity, whether in Africa or elsewhere. There is also the second trend. An example of this, still back to historical thematic, an example of this silence and the marginal presence of Christ is found also in the work that was edited by Lamin Sanneh and Michael McClymont, two towering scholars of world Christianity, where Jesus and Christ appears insignificantly in the word cloud analysis of the essays in that volume. It's a handbook on Africa, the Wiley Blackwell companion to world Christianity. In the social scientific trend, with the representative thinker Martha Frederick, she is the chair and professor of the study of world Christianity at Utrecht University, and she also in her research focuses both on the historical and thematic, but then she goes on to offer a unique approach in the study of world Christianity that draws and reimagines world Christianity as a method rather than a subject area. In this approach, scholars offer an account of the presence of Christianity using social scientific methods and theories. What then is the case against the use of social scientific theories as an interpretive tool in the study of world Christianity? Kehinde Olabitam, in his essay, The Study of African Christianity, Trajectories and Prospects, helps me to flesh out the limitations of the social scientific approach in the study of world Christianity. According to Olabitam, the problem with the use of social science theories or the rigid use of overarching themes is that they tend to be too simple. Certainly, the interpretation of historical formation is always tentative as different periods of human consciousness, experience, and concern shed new light on different aspects that are most illumined by present concern and awareness. Theories in the social sciences, as products of scientific understanding of reality, are premised on the idea that immutable laws govern human conduct, just as they do natural phenomena. Thus, they tend to become grand narratives that claim to provide comprehensive explanations to the human dilemma with empirical and irrefutable answers to all the questions that have to do with the issues of faith. In this way, they offer explanations that are too simple for complex realities and for complex experience like the Christian faith. Perhaps a more modest attitude to the application of theories and overarching themes is to accept that at best they reflect only aspects of complex realities and experience of faith, and where it is possible, they should be used eclectically with insights from other disciplines, where the discipline I have in mind here would be Christology. Then we turn to the third trend, where Philip Jenkins belongs, because of want of time. Philip Jenkins' study of world Christianity is often rendered in what I call the demographic and cultural institutional study of Christianity. But then my critique to that approach is that Jenkins' study of world Christianity doesn't do justice to this Christic element, the Christic principle. Because the church is a community that endures over time, not just a historical institution or sociological entity for pure research and the collection of facts and figures. It is the spiritual communion of men and women whose hearts are illumined by faith, sometimes without being able to testify to or account for it. Hence, it could be incalculable, invisible, and inseparably operating in history under her invisible head, Christ, and united, as it were, to him as a profound mystery by the action of the life-giving Spirit. Therefore, an account of the church that only speaks of numbers and institutions and buildings that are empty might not be doing justice to the profound understanding of Christian presence and experience, even in places that Christianity is considered to be in decline, or in some quarters celebrated as dead. To be sure, these scholars have offered rich and valuable insights for the study of world Christianity. However, some of their proposals, as I've pointed out, and very fruitful results of their study are still overly tied to the past in the case of Sanet's historical thematic study, or theoretical in the case of Frederick, or iconic in the case of Jenkins. How do we then respond to this lacuna? I argue in my second session that we should turn to the grassroots experiences, the ordinary experience of individual Christians and communities in order to render a more justified account of Christianity in today's world. Philip Jenkins was right. I'm happy that Emmanuel Ojeifo referred to this in his own presentation on Thursday or yesterday. Philip Jenkins was right when he says in his book, The Next Christendom, The Coming of Global Christianity, that if we want to visualize a typical contemporary Christian, we should be thinking of a woman living in a village in Nigeria or in the Brazilian favela. And I would add, or even in Montreal, that is considered a secular world, where I serve young people who still express their longing for something more about their life and about the world. Or even in Cincinnati in the United States. I think of my experience as a chaplain while I was in Leuven, considered to be a very secular city, or Belgium as a secular world. There are still young men and women, even in the so-called global north, who are raising questions that point to their longing for this and their response to this Christic presence. And so it's important that we pay attention not only to Christians in the global south, but even Christians in the global north, even though we may think that our institutions or the buildings in the global north no longer have the number. And there are four sides when we start to pay attention to this experience and celebration of Christ, those places where Jesus Christ is celebrated, proclaimed, and looked upon as the real abiding gift of God's own life. There are four sides: the worship of God, the proclamation of the gospel, in the celebration of the Eucharist. But very importantly for me, and that's where I will focus on in this second section, in the suffering of the poorest of the poor, who look unto the crucified Christ and call upon him as their hope. This first sight, the sight of suffering, which is a very common human experience in the study of world Christianity, is so important for me. We cannot neglect the reality of unimaginable suffering of many people in our world today. Sufferings which make a lot of Christians cry out in anguish to Christ. A cry that is done because people conceive him as a living being, still dwelling and acting in our world. Through the incarnation, Christ drew near to all human beings, and in particular way to their sufferings. His presence to those who suffer made him fatally vulnerable. It cost him his life. The body of Christ on the cross expressed for all time his mysterious but truly redeeming presence to those who suffer anywhere and at any time, whether in the global north or in the global south. According to Gerald O. Collins, in his Christology, the final chapter that speaks of the possibilities of presence of Christ in today's world, Collins notes that the death of Christ on Calvary between two criminals symbolized forever his close solidarity with those who suffer and die, an identification with human pain, expressed also by the criteria for the last judgment, Matthew chapter 25, verse 31 to 46. The final blessings of the kingdom, Collins notes, will come to those who, even without recognizing Christ, meet his needs in the people who suffer by being hungry, thirsty, without food, naked, sick, or imprisoned. Blaise Pascal, in his Pensives, offers a classical articulation of Christ's enduring presence in the mystery of all suffering human being. Christ is in the agony to the end of the world. Ubi dolo, ibi Christus. Wherever there is suffering, there is Christ. And so we need to pay attention to this. And so this turn to the lived experience of Christ amongst people at the grassroots offers a methodological and missional implications, which I will just run through because of want of time. The methodological reorientation it offers for the study of world Christianity is what I call relational encounter with believers by way of descent and immersion, according to Abonkia, May, or Roberto. And this descent and immersion by way of this relational encounter with individuals or community who still profess their faith in Christ brings about the dialogue between grassroots experience and scholarly interpretation of Christianity, and the dialogue between the study of Christ and the study of Christian faith. It also has a missional implication because it invites the study of world Christianity to also be a site for sharing the good news of Christ's love, his story in today's world, which leads to an attention to the stories of Christian individuals and communities. Another missional reorientation it offers to the study of world Christianity is for scholars to uncover Christ's presence and action, even in the so-called secular context. In conclusion, in my presentation, I pointed to the loss of the Christic element, or the Christic principle within the study of world Christianity, in three representative trends. In recent times, it is argued that a retrieval and foregrounding of the Christic element, or the Christ principle, by taking seriously the experience and expressions of Jesus Christ found at the grassroots, allows a reorientation of world Christian studies back to its object, Jesus Christ, present and active in our world in ways that sometimes we are yet to uncover. This offers a different kind of methodological and missional engagement of Christianity in today's world compared with the historical, thematic, theoretical, and demographic trends of the study. It also offers a way of bridging the divide between academic and popular study of Christianity on the one hand, and the study of Christ, Christology, and of Christian faith on another hand. A fitting commitment and realization in and for a divided world. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Chukwuemeka, for your very stimulating paper. We are now going to open it up for questions, suggestions, ideas. Okay, Simon, yeah?
Chukwuemeka, thanks again. Just to reiterate what... Chukwu, can you hear me?
Yes, Simon.
Lovely. Thanks again. I just want to reiterate what Joe said. It's a lovely paper. As you talk about the Christic imagination and the Christic focus, I'm asking myself, are you trying to resurrect St. Anselm of Canterbury's Fides Quares Intellectum, faith seeking understanding. Are you saying that that is something relevant in the discourse? Because I think, without disagreeing with you, the study of world Christianity takes for granted that we no longer, the study in the environment where Christianity finds itself, there's not a common ground of meaning making. So many things have to be unpacked. Hence, a sociological lens is relevant in the unpacking of these realities. So I see, I might be wrong, but I do see sociology as a very important tool for doing world Christianity, unlike in Christendom, where that would not have been necessary. So I don't know.
Thank you very much, Simon. First of all, I am not undercutting the importance of sociological or social scientific theories. They are very important, but then what I'm suggesting here is that the social scientific theories sometimes do not lead us into even appreciating how the Christian faith is present in some areas that we sometimes consider as not being very Christian. And I like the fact that you refer to Anselm of Canterbury's definition of theology as faith seeking understanding. In my class on African Christianity, I have also discussed this with my students, which led us to also think of unbelief seeking understanding as also a side of theology. Because sometimes with that definition suggests that it's only the believers, someone who has faith, that will also seek for understanding. But in my experience amongst young people in secular culture of Belgium, where I studied, and now in Montreal, where I'm working, I think that definition needs to be complemented with unbelief, dubium queres intellectum, unbelief seeking understanding. Thank you very much.
Yes, next question from anybody? Yes. You want to come over here, please? Sure.
Thank you for your presentation. It's very enlightening, but as a practitioner of the faith that works in the community, my question is, this Christological experience, how does it connect to the lived experience of the people in terms of relating? For example, we deal with refugees and immigrants who have gone through a lot and their faith is strong. How that experience becomes a reality for them to be tangible, just not abstract and theoretical. So that's my question, but also my comment here is also, when I speak of theology, if we look at it from a mystical approach, theology is not a systemic work, but a lifestyle of a Christian.
Thank you very much for your question. Actually, that's the point in the fourth side of the study of world Christianity that I refer to, the sufferings of people. Listening to these sufferings and paying attention to these experiences, you refer to migrants and refugees, who offer us a different language and frame for even conceiving and reconceiving Christianity, and introduces this lived experience of faith into the study. So what I am actually saying is that we need to take seriously the lived experiences of these people that you just referred to, the lived experiences of communities, and in fact consider these lived experiences as the primary site for our study of Christian faith and even for our theological thinking. In my work on Christology, I distinguish between the first order Christology and the second order Christology, where the first order Christology will be the living experiences of these believers, as Christology being a speech to Christ, a speech to God. And what scholars or systematic theologians are doing in terms of interpreting the identity and work of Christ will be Christology in the second sense, in the second order, as a speech about Christ. So what the experiences of the people at the grassroots, the people you refer to in their daily struggles and challenges offer us is that it reimagines and resituates the study and makes it first and foremost an account of the lived and living experiences of these people before the scholarly interpenetration.
Okay. Yes, you can.
Okay.
Thank you, Tony, for that wonderful presentation.
Oh, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. So I like your the way you enlarged the definition of theology to say that unbelief is also a site for seeking understanding. And I was wondering whether you would be willing to add a fifth site for this Christic search, where where this, I know it's part of apophatic theology, but where this absence of Christ becomes also a site for a Christological, I don't know, the Christic element you're talking about. So does this space where Christ appears to be absent also become a space for Christology and world Christianity?
Well, thank you very much, Fast, for this. This is really insightful. You make me think of what Gerard Manley Hopkins says. Christ plays in 10,000 places, lovely in limbs and lovely in eyes not his to the Father, through the futures of men's faces. So this quote by Gerard O. Collins of Gerard Hopkins, also when you speak of another site, points to the fact that we can surely find Christ present in those seemingly absent places. So you are right when I flesh out even the absence of Christ in the study of world Christianity by scholars as also a way of trying to speak to the person of Christ, sometimes without knowing it or without pronouncing it very clearly, like we find in the lived communities of believers. So I like this point, this apophatic dimension that you introduce into the exploration of the sites of the study of world Christianity. Thank you, Pascal.
Okay, we still have time for one more question. If there is none, I have a question myself. Okay, so thank you, Tony, and I have also known that Pascal prefers Pasc.
Pasc.
Yes.
Multiple identities.
All right, good. Okay. Okay. Tony, my question actually goes to the heart of your thesis. World Christianity is primarily interdisciplinary. It cuts across disciplines. You are emphasizing telling the story of lived Christian experience. That is history. You are emphasizing where is Christ. That is doctrine. And then you are conscious of the controversies within Christianity. So one problem which I consider you may be neglecting is you are focused. You think that what Lonergan will call general categories have taken over theological and special categories. So I want to draw your attention. If you want to ground this your thesis in such a way that it is defensible, I will highly recommend, I have usually recommended to Simon. I will highly recommend method in theology. Functional specializations, you know, we want to make our mark. We want to distinguish ourselves. We want to come up with something special. Yes, that's fine. But before you come up with that, it is important for us to make proper differentiations and distinctions. And these differentiations and distinctions are what we find in this humble Montrealian Canadian philosopher, just right at your doorstep, Bernard Lonergan. So I will, if anybody is dissuading you for any reason whatsoever from encountering Lonergan, just quietly, without talking to the person, spend time on Lonergan. And then in your further conversation, you'll be able to tell the person, I think I need to go back to Lonergan. Thank you.
Thank you very much for problematizing my thesis and offering me also tools for further engaging this problematic that you underline in that thesis. I'm very grateful. Yeah, we just had a conference 2 weeks ago on Bernard Lonergan on the subject of home and homelessness.
Good.
So engaging him here at McGill. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you so much. Thank you.